Hi, and welcome to the Clarity 16.2.1 Feature Supportability video series. My name is Katherine Ellis, and I'm a product manager for Clarity. In this video, I'll cover new business rules for timesheets. The Clarity administrator is given new timesheet configuration options for suppressing the toast message when submitting a timesheet, and a new option for time entry incremental rounding, which also stores the rounded value into the database. Our customers have requested many improvements in timesheet management. Providing the ability to optionally suppress the toast message will reduce redundant messaging and provide a more streamlined experience. An option for time entry increment rounding provides real-time data entry adjustments when the user is filling out the timesheet for compliance purposes to adhere to company directives. When actuals are entered into the timesheet, natural rounding based on decimal places configuration, and if increment rounding is used, what you see on the screen is saved in the database. In this demonstration, you'll see how Clarity administrators configure the new business options to suppress the toast message when a timesheet is submitted. First, let's go into a timesheet and submit one where there are errors based on some defined rules in the system. As you can see, the toast message pops up because it encountered errors based on the Clarity timesheet rules defined in this system. Navigating into Classic Administration Timesheet Options, the new option is available in the section for Modern UX Options. As you can see, by default, for new and upgraded systems, this option is enabled. Customers that have custom timesheet hook files installed will see no change in behavior if this option remains enabled. For customers that implement the new Clarity timesheet business rules can optionally elect to disable the toast message to reduce the redundancy of displayed error messages. Let's uncheck the box and save the changes. Now we'll return to submit a timesheet. When this option is disabled and the timesheet encounters a Clarity timesheet error condition, the toast message will not appear and the persistent errors panel will automatically open for the user to review. As a reminder, if the toast message is disabled for environments using custom timesheet hook files, the timesheet user won't have any error information displayed as the error conditions from the custom hook files are not saved nor persisted in the errors panel. In this demonstration, you'll see how the Clarity administrator configures the new timesheet system option to enforce incremental rounding for actual time entered in timesheets. Within the Classic Administration Timesheets option page, the new option for time entry increment is visible. With the introduction of this option, all actuals entered into the timesheet will be rounded and saved in the database based on this setting in combination with the decimal places setting. The rounded saved values will get stored in the database for any newly entered or updated cells in the timesheet. Existing time entries that are not updated will not automatically change to rounded save values. There are 4 different settings. As you can see, by default, it is set to any increment. For the any increment, the entered values are rounded and saved based on the decimal places setting alone. Our current decimal places setting is set to 2 places. Prior to this upgrade, when time is entered with 3 or more decimal places, the rounded values were not automatically saved with 2 places. It stored the value that was entered by the user as is. Let's change this to 5 temporarily so that I can show you the existing data in a timesheet. Here we have an existing timesheet where data was entered prior to the upgrade. The existing saved values on these entries are not automatically changed with this upgrade. Let's go back and update the decimal places back to 2 places. Now with this new enhancement, when the user enters a new value or updates an existing value with 3 or more decimal places, the value is rounded and saved to 2 places. Just to confirm the new behavior, I'll go back to the administration page and change the decimal settings to 5 to show you the difference for the values we just entered or updated. As you can see, the values have been rounded and saved for 2 decimal places. Now that you understand the new enhancement will round the entered values and save them based on settings, let's look at the other settings we have available. There are 3 other increments available: 0.25, 0.5, and 1. These increments can be used regardless of the timesheet display unit for hours or days. Therefore, 0.25 will round the entry to the nearest quarter hour or quarter day. 0.5 will round the entry to the nearest half hour or half day. And 1 will round the entry to the nearest whole hour or whole day. When the administrator wants to use one of these increments, there is a minimum decimal places setting. For example, if I set the decimal places to 0 and pick 0.25, an error will display to indicate the minimum decimal places must be 2. If I try to select a 0.5, the minimum decimal places must be 1. Let's set our decimal places back to 2 and select a 0.25. I'll demonstrate this increment. Half and whole increments will behave in a similar manner. Let's return to our timesheet. As you can see, although we changed the settings, none of the existing time entries have changed for the quarter-hour increments. However, when I enter a value, the numbers are automatically rounded up or down to the nearest quarter hour. If the timesheet user tries to enter a very small number between 0 and the first increment, that value will get rounded up to the first increment. For example, entering a 0.1 will round up to 0.25, the first increment for a quarter hour. The entry of a 0 has not changed. All zeros entered in a timesheet basically clears out the field. There's one additional use case that I will cover. If your system is configured to allow actuals to be entered into the totals field for each line item, and there is an increment setting other than any, the user will see a one-time toast message. Let's go back to our administration page and review the settings. Our decimal settings equal 2, and the increment setting is 0.25. We'll check the box to allow a total amount to be entered per line item. Let's return to our timesheet. With an entry into the total field, the amount is spread evenly across all working days. Now that we have the option set to quarter increments, the daily amounts are automatically rounded to adhere to this setting, and therefore the total amount may also get adjusted. The first time a total amount is entered in a session for this type of configuration, a toast message appears to the user. The next total entry does not generate additional toast messages. The next time the user logs in, the toast message will appear for the first time a total amount is entered or updated. This section is applicable to the Clarity Administrator. The administrator has the capability to disable newly introduced features to allow greater flexibility in rolling out the new functionality to the Clarity users. The toggle is introduced in this release, 16.2.1, and will expire in the next release, for which the new functionality will be enabled from that point forward. In this demonstration, you'll see how the Clarity Administrator can disable the new enhancement for the time entry decimal precision and increments, and the impact of making this change. First, the administrator will need to have the Global Access Right Administration feature toggles navigate. Now the administrator logs in and sees the feature toggles tile. A list of features is provided, and we're interested in looking at one of them for the time entry decimal precision and increments. By default, this feature is enabled, ready for customers to use and roll out. Let's say the administrator wants to temporarily disable the feature for review in their dev environment. So let's disable the feature by unchecking the box. It is now disabled. Let's go into the Classic Administration Timesheet Options page. With this feature disabled, the option to set the time entry increments is no longer visible. For the timesheet user, there will not be any change in behavior from the prior release. All entered values are visibly rounded to the decimal places, but the saved values are not rounded. Let's return and enable the feature again to continue using the new feature. Thank you for your attention. The new administrative options for timesheets will improve the user experience and help your company to implement better compliance rules for timesheet users.